Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I have no idea what thumbnail I made today, but I'm going to try to start making kind of fun thumbnails over here with a title on them and everything, because I always just kind of pick a screenshot for my thumbnails. But I thought, since going into October, I'm gonna I don't have like a moon. I have no idea, because I haven't made the thumbnail yet. I just posed for it like this. So I have no idea what I'm going to do. But behind me will probably be like ghosties or bats or something like that, because today is the first day of October. How are you guys doing? You know, it's interesting because last night I was on Instagram, and you guys know that I pulled quite a few inspirational quotes from Instagram and read them over here and responded to them and stuff like that. But I was going through, and it was like, all these different illustrators that I follow, they put out these things like every month. It'll be like, you know, welcome to June, welcome to October. And then it's like all these October things to do. And they have like a mug, and they're like, drink a spiced latte or tea. And it was like, open a book, read a spooky book. You know those things where they do like all the little drawings? And I love those so much. And then I came across this one, and it was like, all the things you're going to focus on in October. And it was like bringing more peace into your life, you know, being more responsive instead of being reactionary. All the things that I talk about over here. And I was like reading this, and I was like, this is a really good reminder that, you know, you could do it on the 3rd day of the month. You could do it on the 5th day of the month. It's like, I make up all my goals for the year, usually on my sobriety birthday, the 17th of December, not on my, you know, the New Year's, not on my birthday. I do a little bit of it on my birthday, and I don't really do a lot of it on New Year's. I think about it. I think about like goals for the New Year's. I've written them down. I probably did last year. But usually my sobriety birthday is kind of when I look and I'm like, okay, what do I want for the next year of my life? But, you know, I think going into each month is also like a really great opportunity to look at, you know, what are some big things that you really want to work on this month? Like, what are, like, I can remember, you know, with my one sponsor, like, we worked through all this stuff. This is my sponsor that passed away. I had 2 sponsors that passed away about 2 years ago that I'd had previously that still, they remained friends of mine. But I can remember this one sponsor talking to me one time, and we had worked through a lot of stuff, sponsor and recovery. And he said to me, okay, now that we did that, what do you want to work on this next year of sobriety? And my sponsor that I have now, she asks me every year, like on my sobriety birthday, she's like, okay, what are we going to focus on? What's this year of your sobriety going to be about? And so I was thinking about this last night as I was reading this, like, I think I might have even reshared it on my Instagram, but I was thinking about, like, what do I want to work on in October? And it was interesting because at the same time that I was going back and forth, I was doing this, I was, like, looking through all this stuff on, keeping up, like, a list of shows that I'm going to watch from Peter Watches TV channel, but also just shows that I wouldn't watch that were very, like, spooky and scary shows that are coming out in October, and it's Halloween and whatever. And I thought, you know, it's interesting that I love all this stuff that's scary, and it's all fear-based, right? Like, there's something about that to me that is fear-based. And I recently was reading a book, and the book was talking about somebody's coming out experience, and they related it to the reason why a lot of people in the LGBT community like horror movies, a lot, not all, but some, like horror movies, is because we grew up with these fears of these, like, hidden monsters, of this fear of ourselves, of this fear of people coming for us, of fear of what people would say about us. And so we grew up in fear. And so horror movies were kind of attractive to us because it was like you were looking at the monster right in the face, right? And I was thinking about that last night, and I was thinking about, in recovery, we have something that we say that addiction is rooted in 100 forms of fear. And I was thinking about fear as being a topic for October, and really focusing on what are fears that I still have. You know, in my last big inventory that I did with my sponsor, in an inventory, you do a list of resentments, you do a fear inventory, and you do a conduct inventory. And you look at yourself through all these things and what's your part and all that. The last time that I did it, the resentments that I had, and looking at, you know, how it affected me, what I was holding on to, what my part in was, that was really helpful. Looking at my context was really helpful, but looking at my fears was really, really super powerful in a way that I had really, really never looked at it before. I had never looked at my fears in a way that I did the last time that I did my inventory. I mean, I really, really focused hard on my inventories. In fact, she, like, printed off, I think she did it, or she told me where to print it off. I can't remember, but it was like a fears inventory list. And it was literally like 100 fears. And I just went through them and circled them. And then I wrote down how I related to that fear in the inventory. And then she and I processed it. And I remember at the time that we did this a couple years ago, I remember the time that we did it, like I would read one of my fears when we were sitting, because the 5th step is where you go over with your sponsor. So I would read one of the fears, and then I would talk about how it affected me and whatever. And then at the end of it, she'd say, how are you managing that fear? And one of the things that I said at the beginning was, well, I just kind of push it down. I just act like it doesn't exist. I don't deal with it, which I have found in therapy has led to my OCD. That's one of the ways that like my OCD is like this control mechanism that comes out in me trying to control these fears from me way back of being a kid, which is now why I'm doing a trauma narrative over being bullied, because I'm trying to piece all this stuff together like a puzzle and understand it so that I can be healthier and respond to the world in a different way, right? And so she would ask me, like she asked me like the first one, she's like, so how are you managing that fear? And I said, oh, I just kind of push it down. I just act like it doesn't exist. I don't deal with it. Next fear we went over, and she said, how do you manage that fear? And she's like taking notes and stuff, you know, as we're talking. And I said, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't really think about it that much. And she was like, would you say you push it down? And I was like, yeah, I probably push it down. I don't really think about it. I don't really deal with it. Third, fourth fear we get to, I think it was like the third fear we got to, she said, how do you manage that fear? And I said, I don't know. I just kind of push it down. Like, I don't really think about it. She goes, do you realize that, like, that's how you manage your fears, is that you just don't address them? You just don't act like they exist. You just don't deal with them whatsoever, right? And she's like, do you think that that's really an effective way to deal with your fears? And I said, probably not. And she goes, do you think it would be better if we took each of your fears and we kind of inventoried those, and then we went through them and addressed why those fears still exist in your life? Because many of these fears you said you're talking about are fears of things that happened to you when you were 4 and 5 years old that you're still holding on to today, which now, in retrospect, is why I've had 2 therapists now suggest that I, you know, possibly suffer PTSD from things that happened in my childhood. And also that I'm still holding on, and like, you know, that I'm constantly like this, and that the OCD, that I've had to work through all these rituals, and thankfully I'm on the other side of that. But it's every day it's a battle. I mean, OCD is not just something that once you get over, you're over it. It's every day is a battle, right? And it's like having to, it's like throughout the day, I constantly am thinking about it, you know? I'm not like as laser focused on it as I was a year ago, but I still have to work through stuff. I still have to stop myself from doing it. It still comes out at sometimes in others. And what I notice is that a lot of my OCD stuff is based in fear. Even if it's irrational fear, like it's something that I think something horrible is going to happen in the world. And if I don't tap this book 4 times, and something horrible is going to happen in the world. That's how irrational some of my OCD was. And so in working through my fears and understanding my fears better, it's really helped a lot of those rituals go away. That's one of the things that I did in therapy, was really look at my fears and address them and kind of take my power back and take my story back a little bit, right? And addressing like all these things that I've been afraid of my entire life. It's been super, super powerful. And so as I was sitting there last night, and I was going to read a meditation today, but maybe I won't in just a second. But as I was going through this, you know, reading this thing last night and thinking about October and how I love to be scared, but not too scared, but like kind of scared, you know, but I like scary movies and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know, maybe this is a reminder that I need to do a very focused, you know, inventory this month. Maybe my sponsor and I just do a fear inventory this month over fears that are still existing, and how far am I coming with them? And am I still trying to manage them by just pushing them down? Or have I come farther than that? Maybe I need to revisit those fears and look at some of those fears, and how far have I come? You know, pull out the old inventory and look at it and say, where am I at? Or the old things, you know, I don't even know where that inventory is. I think I might have gotten rid of it. But anyway, you know, like pull out the things that were, I still remember the things that were on that inventory, and be like, you know, where am I at with that today? Like, do I need to revisit this? Do I need to work on these things? Like, where am I at with this stuff today? And so I think going into October, that's going to be the thing that I'm going to focus on, is working on fears. And so I suggest to you maybe looking at something and being like, okay, what am I going to work on for this month? Like, what's one thing I'm going to focus on this month, you know? And, I think that would be like a really great idea. I remember years ago, people ask me all the time, they're like, do you sponsor people? Do you sponsor people? It's kind of like in recovery, that's something that's expected of you. If you're asked to sponsor somebody, you sponsor them. Yes, I've had sponsors, and yes, I've sponsored many people. And I remember that I sponsored somebody that had actually moved from another state. And his old sponsor had said to him that the way that he wanted to work on character defects, I thought this was so fantastic. And he was like, yeah, he just learned it from somebody else, and he learned it from somebody else, and he learned it from somebody else. But the way way that he would work on character defects, that's 6 and 7, is that you would make a list of things. And he was like, yeah, I just like keep a jar of all my character defects, and every day I pull out one, and that's like the one that I'm going to focus on for the day. And I borrowed that. I loved that. I did that for a long time, where I would like pull out something and I'd be like, okay, this is what I'm going to work on for the day. I'm going to work on this specific character defect today. Today I'm going to practice patience. You know, tomorrow I'm going to practice forgiveness. And that would be the character defect that I would focus on for the day. I think to take an entire month or an entire week or just an entire day and focus deliberately, think about that, okay? I can remember doing that where I focused deliberately on patience. And I can remember like those days where I would be like at a gas station, you know, and there'd be several people in line in front of me. And that was kind of early days of sobriety where I went back to that. My sponsor would be like, you have to let people in front of you at the line and whatever. And so I'd be standing there at line, you know, at, I don't know, 15, 18 years sober. I'd be like, oh my God, well, I was learning patience. I was being taught patience in that moment, you know? And I think it's a very, very valuable lesson, you know? And so when you take a day or you take a week, you know, start off your week and be like, today I'm going to work on forgiveness. When offered the opportunity to grant somebody forgiveness, if I can't grant them forgiveness, I'm going to work on the issue that's standing the obstacle in between me giving them forgiveness. Or today I'm going to work on patience. Or today I'm going to work on love and kindness. Or today I'm going to work on anger and why I'm so angry and work on that. Or today I'm going to work on any of these character defects that I'm working on. Or today, maybe it's not a character defect. Maybe it's something just like fear, you know? This month I'm going to work on fear. Or today I'm going to work on fear. If I can't work through the fear, I'm going to work on acknowledging the fear. I'm going to work on the awareness of the fear and what the fear does to me and how it changes me. It's not just about overcoming these things. It's about becoming fully aware of it and understanding it. That's what therapy and working step work and stuff has done for me. It hasn't necessarily fixed it. It's made me more aware of it. And when I'm more aware of it, I realize how that specific thing affects me in the grand scheme of things in the world. And that's super, super powerful for me. That really, really helps me a lot, you know? So this month, going into October, I'm going to focus on fears. Let me know if you're going to focus on anything in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.